Hi there, Robin here from Expert On. Today we're going to be talking about this speaker right here, which is from Avante. It's their Achromic Series. It's their new product. We've decided that we're going to find a slot for it in our showroom, so I thought today would be a good day to talk about it. It's from American DJ. Now, they've given it a nice name like Achromic, but outside of that, it's a very nice looking speaker. I'm going to call it a perfect DJ speaker for people doing weddings between 100, 150 people if you got two of these on top. Subwoofer be then optional. Power wise, they wrote up their specs like they were doing a light. And I say that because they didn't exaggerate much on their numbers, and they were pretty forthcoming with how they even came up with the numbers. So if we cover a bit of it, and then I'll talk about what I really think about where the sound on a speaker like this fits in. So frequency response, right off the hop. They talk about this being 45 hertz to 20 kilohertz. The thing that I like about that is not just the number, but the fact that in brackets they said they did that at minus 10 dB to show you where they actually came up with that number. So that's a really good thing. When we look at the back, I'll show you where that I think fits in. Also on top of that, they give us the dispersion rate, which is pretty normal. They're telling the speaker has a 9° by 60° dispersion, which is kind of like what we'd expect it to have. But it's a good thing. They also say you can use it as a monitor, though I don't know if you'd want to use this particular speaker as a monitor. That's not necessarily the primary reason why you're buying it. If you're in a pinch and you need to, for sure, throw it on the floor, use it as a monitor. It has that option available to you as well. It's in the settings in the back, which we'll cover in a minute. Output, now peak SPL rating, now at 1 meter. They don't say if it's from pink noise or a tone or whatever it is, but they're saying 124 dB. I tested it, real world, real music. We're looking at around 90 dB. At a comfortable level. So if you're going to be with a 15-inch 36 feet away from it, you're probably still going to be running at a roughly around 80 dB, 75 to 80 dB, that sort of thing. So again, twice as loud as you're talking, so you got to raise your voice even at 36 feet with this speaker in front of you that far away. So here's something that's real interesting, is amplifier power. Now here on this particular and on their 12-inch, 1200 watts dynamic. There you go, another new word they're throwing out. What's really going on is 350 watts Class D, and then another 50 watts on top AB. So basically like Class D, but without the extra processing added to it, and they're rating that all as RMS. Go back to real world volume. In its price point, it's a good time to mention the price at this point. You're looking at, in the States, $450, and in Canada, $550. So it's right there. It's playing ball with everybody else. And again, I'm not too crazy about getting hooked up on the actual wattage per se, or the RMS, or the peak power, all of that. I really want to know what I can run the speaker at a reasonable level for 4 to 6 hours straight. And that's why I'm saying 90 to 95 dB, you're going to do that with this speaker, and that's going to do a gig for you, no problem. Then they get into overall power, which I don't know why they put that as a big number all by itself, 400 watts. Then they talk about their DSP, and yes, we'll talk about that in a second. It's on the back side of this unit. And the driver, of course, is a 15-inch with a 2.5-inch voice coil attached to it, and a 1.35, so 1 1/3 on the horn. So all that is part of what's going on here. These are all technical stuff, and we're going to run through all the pretty stuff in a second. Input balances and all that, we're going to cover that when we get to the back. Enclosures, fly points, all of that. These are all real important things, and we just keep going down the list. And like I said, the most important thing about this whole thing is what they actually have on their spec sheet on the first page. This is the most important thing. You're going, what's the reliability factor to it? How long have they been out? You know, can I see people talking about this speaker from before? No, of course not, because Avante for them is whole new. They basically got rid of everything they had, went from scratch, started over again. A normal lifespan for a speaker as a DJ, you want to be responsible and maybe replace it every 3, if you're a working DJ. So every weekend, you've got 1 or 2 shows, that sort of thing. When should I replace my speakers? You want to think of the cost and the investment of your product to be there for 3 years. This way you can sell that off, get a reasonable price back on it, and get yourself fresh new stock. Some people buy the exact same product they had before because they really liked it. They just want to have new and reliable products, so this way they can move forward. So they're giving you a 3-year warranty with their product. They're putting that much confidence behind their product. Now that's in comparison to other brands that only give you 1 year, which is kind of a standard. Here you go, here's a warranty, it's 1 year, and you feel good about it because you're buying something new and it should last, right? So this case, 3 years. So they're definitely saying, I know you don't have a track record to look at when it comes to our product, but we're willing to put our money where our mouth is and give you a 3-year warranty. So that's a big thing about it. Now let's talk a bit about the speaker itself. The grill setup is thick. They do take note to tell us that it's like 1.2 millimeter steel. It's got a nice little ridge point in the center. It's all about stopping it from vibrating. They do put the dampener in behind it, so that again absorbs any vibration that's going to come off of this. These are the little things that we like to see in the craftsmanship of the product. When we actually start spinning the speaker around, we've got a nice solid plastic material. Now these are all composite materials. These are very durable and rugged pieces of hardware. They do have a molded in handle. Now they did want to have a different look than everybody else because they think that's real important, and I'll be honest, it makes them unique. It puts them on the shelf with everybody else and it looks different. When you bring it out to a show, people do notice. Usually it's DJs. Don't assume your customers are going to notice, your clients, when you're out on a job site. I mean, they hired you, not your speaker. So if you're DJing, you know, you're the one doing the work. This is just, you know, reinforcing the sound for the room, right? So, but at the end of the day, I mean, you got to look at the speaker. It's a very nice speaker. Curved on top. You can stack them. Now, this is something nobody ever mentions. Stacking is for putting away. Stacking is not for, I'm going to play these speakers, I'm just going to prop them up in the corner. If you're just testing them, that's fine. But if you're actually going to use them, you definitely want to have them apart. If you look at an array setup, normally they're mounted, you know, on their side. This way, all the tweeters are lined up, all the woofers are lined up, that sort of thing. You don't normally stack a speaker just to play it. So, handle, bolted in, everything straightforward again. All the plastic moldings. This is the side that they taper, so if you're going to use as a wedge, as a monitor, this is the side that's going to come down. This side has just molded plastic feet in it, so the intention is not to use it a lot like that. They put big honking rubber feet on the bottom of it, and that's because for it to be stackable, the feet have to be big enough to compensate for the curve on the top of the unit. There you go. That's a big thing. Now, for fly points, if you're going to hang these, if you're a bar or a restaurant, or maybe it's for a school gymnasium, that sort of thing, it does have 2 points on top that you can fly off of, and a point in the back so you can pull it back and angle it the way you want. So you can do all of that with this speaker as well. It is angled on the other side, but there are no resting points on it. So if you rested it on this side, you're pretty much asking for it. It's going to scratch up pretty easily because people move things around on the floor. Now, we get to the back. We're going to change the camera angle here for this, but I did want to cover one important thing. ETA certificate, everything American DJ does, this is why their products are sought for in the lighting industry, is because they all have their certificates, and of course they didn't fall short in doing that on this unit here. We're going to have a close-up view of what's going on up here, but I did want to talk about how they kind of mounted this. It was very interesting. They have a mounting frame all the way around, and then the amp plate sits in that socket that they've put in with this, which gives it much better stability. Now, they've also vented it all the way around on 3 sides, all the way around the sides, and they added a little fan. Now, when I did the sound run on the back here, and we pumped it for, this thing's been on probably for 2 days, just on, and we've been running it for maybe an hour or 2 to give it sound tests and to see how it works and to do our, this video. Of course, we wanted to get all that audio done. And man, it certainly gets hot to the touch. If it didn't have this sticker, I'd be worried. Basically, what they're doing, when you have a safety, they're checking the quality of the components, that if everything went haywire inside this thing, that whatever failed would stay within this actual product and wouldn't cause an issue, or there's no safety issue beyond that. So the fan, though very small, and I've never heard it go on. I've never heard it, and it could be on right now. I can't hear it. So if it's on, it's on. If it's not, it's not. I'd have to stuff something in there, which I'm not going to do, to see if it's actually running. But I'm assuming the fan is here to circulate the air in here and pump it out the sides if it finds it's getting too hot. So at this point, even though it's very warm, and I'm not even running it, it's warm to the touch. It did get a lot hotter, and sound didn't seem to change. Nothing like that happened. But at the same time, I didn't really notice the fan going off. But again, not here nor there, but because I feel much more comfortable when I'm looking at that ETL sticker, which is basically, it matches the safety limits of both, in this case, the UL certificate capabilities, and it even takes note to mention CSA, which for a lot of things is a higher standard for safety. Now it does have CE, but that's for Europe, and to be honest, that's self-police. That's the manufacturer is saying they meet their criteria. It's not a third-party company that had to inspect the product. So this sticker up here definitely is a better one to see on a product. So there you go. Outside of that, we're going to get a closer look at what's going on in the back. And then we'll talk about how much I liked it or disliked it. And if I disliked it, I'll be honest, we'll give it away. If I disliked it, I wouldn't be doing a review on it, and I probably wouldn't be keeping it because, well, my job is to sell these to my customers and help them make a proper buying decision. If this is the right product for you, then I'll have it for you to buy. Okay, so you've probably seen this in a lot of the videos, which is the actual back panel, the DSP, the display, all the features that are going on here. Now, for you to navigate through this is very similar to what we've seen, let's say, on the Electro Voice ZLX and other models, where you have a nice display telling you some information. But what's nice is that when we're on the main screen, it's reminding us of what we actually did with the product. So these are features I do like. I do like the fact that the first one tells us that we have it in normal mode. Then we have it's set as pole. Again, that's for overall acoustics of the way the speaker's going to handle. This is the way the speaker's going to sound. And then we have, you know, our override. What do we, our high and low, our bass and treble settings, what did we do there? And it just reminds us that we actually have a 15-inch right there. Now, this knob here allows me to go from mode and move along the bottom track. And if I push in on it, it allows me to make some options. Now here, this is in pole mount right now. So we can go as a monitor, change the acoustics and the overall settings of the speaker, because now it's up against the floor. That's what it's compensating for, is the fact that it's down on the floor, and it keeps everything pretty flat to what it's expected to play. Bracket mount means that it's up close to the wall, and that's going to change the acoustic, especially considering that when you have something set on pole, the sound, this is generating all the sound that's going to come out of it. We're not going to have any of, I think the technical term is the Cobb effect, which is basically sound that comes off the speaker, bounces off the wall, and adds more to the actual experience. So this allows you to make sure that if you have one speaker set up in an open area, and your other speaker, even if it's on stand but tucked up in a corner against the wall, you can get those two speakers to sound the same. So that's what's going on there. You don't have to do that on your mixer. You don't have to come up with any special recipe. It'll all happen right here. So again, that's a nice feature to have. It's nice to see it. If you're going to have a display with functions like that, it's good that it's there. Then you've got things like bass and treble control, where you can manually go in, change that up and down. And again, we've seen this before. But nice part is when you do change it, so if I do that, it's going to now tell me up here that we've done it. So I can remember that for, you know, hey, by the way, I don't want that anymore. I can take it away. The LED's actually got an interesting feature to it. So let's get to the LED. LED has 3 settings, and that's referring to the actual light in the front, which is blue when it's on, and that would be on here. And if you have it in limit mode, it's nice because it gives you the opportunity to set the room from a distance and get a reading of the room, let's say with your meter, and notice if your speakers are hitting the limit or not, because that blue light will turn red. Just like it would say limit on the back of here, it'll also give you that red indicator on the actual system via the front. So that's up to you. That's an option you can put on there for testing purposes. And if we go to mode, mode is just basically the presets. We've seen this. We've also seen this in the back of Mackie speakers as well, right? Where you can choose the type of music. But this is the important one, is they're showing you an EQ of what's going on, and there actually is a normal mode instead of everything being slightly EQ'd one way or another. So that's a pretty nice way of having it. And it's a quick, easy setup. If you don't know how to set up a live talk, just speech only, this gives you a good example of what's going on to make that sound better. And again, here, this is, a club setting or a live setting if you're, and then back to normal. So that's what's going on up here, and that's what this knob over here is going to be for. Now down here, that's our first line input. Now this is one thing, again, it's $50 cheaper than the ZLX, roughly in the same price point as, let's say, a Mackie probably, right? It only has one XLR combo jack line input. If it was any more than this price-wise, I would have certainly expected to see this too, because most of the other brands are doing at least 2 of these. Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't have 2 channels. It does, but it just means the second channel is not XLR or 1/4 inch. It's just basically a line input with RCA. So if you just have if you have a mixer that a controller that only has RCA outputs because you're just starting off and you're learning how the whole process works. Let's say you have a Mixtrack Platinum or a Mixtrack Pro or one of the other controllers that have just RCA outputs, and you don't have a mixer to run it to and all that, you can go right into here, and that's fine. But normally, if this cost any more than it actually costs right now, I probably would have expected to see 2 of these. Now this button here is nice because it gives you freedom of this knob. This button here allows me to switch the impedance from a mic setting to a line setting, which changes the setup of what's going on here. Gives me some freedom here. Now, talking about this knob, we're going to talk about something we talked when it came to the specifications of the unit, where they did the frequency test at -10 dB. If we look at this knob, I know it's hard to see, but the gain says off +10. So that probably tells me that somewhere around here is unity, 0 dB, and then somewhere probably at about 12 o'clock is -10 dB. So they probably did all their testing up here versus down here. So going all the way to the top, you're kind of boosting the system by 10 dB. So you try and avoid running it there unless you absolutely have to for a short period of time. Normally try and run your systems at about 75%. That's just my opinion. That's, I think, how you're going to keep a system running longer, is if you stay up here. You stay between 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock, I think you're really going to increase the longevity of your product. Kind of like not always driving your car with the gas pedal to the floor, I guess. That's kind of a principle there. Same thing happens here. There's no mic option here, so there's no button. And you drive the same thing all the way up to +10 dB. So again, you want to stay between, let's say, 12 o'clock and 3 o'clock. Line output. So let's say we did use these jacks, or maybe there's a 3.5. We use this to make our life as simple as possible, and this is what we wanted to plug our iPad into or our phone directly into it and just play some music from Spotify. There you go. That happened right there, and you can come output from here. This will let you link up to another speaker. Maybe you went out to a subwoofer, that sort of thing. That's what the output's going to be on here. So that pretty much covers everything on the back of the unit. So now I'll give you my opinion overall on the product. So here we go. So overall opinion. Like I said, in the back, there's only one actual XLR combo 1/4 inch input jack. So I would have liked to have seen 2 on that. What really excites me about this product is the fact the 3-year warranty. I do really like the look of the system. I did think it had really good bass response. Price point wise, it's more than buying, let's say, the Alto TS 315. It's cheaper by $50 when the ZLX isn't being offered on a promo, because right now, for example, when I make this video, the ZLX is $50 off, making it the same price as this. So if that's the case, and they're not running a promo, so they're not giving you $50 off, I'd probably just buy the ZLX 15P. It'll offer me overall the same options, features, capabilities, probably power level wise, but I'll have that extra input in the back. When you're comparing them at their standard price points, basically you're going to strip away one of those inputs. That's pretty much it. But the advantage is, yes, you're saving $50, taking away one of those inputs. On this one, you're going to get a 3-year warranty. On the Electro Voice ZLX, you're going to get a 1-year warranty. So there are trade-offs there, definitely. So give and take. Warranty is very expensive, by the way. Every time the manufacturer adds a year or 2, that's a big cost that they're taking on as a responsibility. So There you go. Remember, damaging the speaker by blowing it up or dropping it one too many times and physically breaking it isn't covered under warranty. So you do want to practice not blowing up your speaker. We have a video for that, and that's a very good thing. Outside of that, it would have been nice if they told us in the back where, you know, basically unity or 0 dB was on the actual speaker. But, you know, everybody's got their little quirks and they learn. The really good part is the lack of BS on their spec sheets. That's a big thing. Now, of course, yes, it does say 1200 watts dynamic, and they don't really explain what that is all about. But that's okay. That's not the here nor there. I call that internet watts. If you've watched my other videos, those are internet watts. But overall, the power is right where it's supposed to be, realistic to what the output's going to be on this. So that's a big deal on a product like this. So if you're looking for a set of DJ speakers and you're starting off and you're doing those wedding packages for $399 to $499, and it gives you, you know, simple basic setup of, you know, for 50 people on the dance floor, 150 in the room, this might not be a bad way to go. 3-year warranty gives you some security, and they're nice, they're easy. They only weighed, what was it? It was 42 pounds. So for 42 pounds, easy enough to carry around. Now they do offer a subwoofer option to it, which we are going to get to in one of our next videos because we do have it here in the showroom. This is a product that we bought into. They've loaned us the subwoofer to see if that's a product we want to add in. We just limit for space on all these things, so they wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to try it and see if we wanted to add it as a package. I think it's a really good package. If you need to bump yourself up after a year, you're doing well enough, and you start taking on jobs that gets you to 250 people in the room, 75 to 100 people on a dance floor, you can probably go ahead and add the subwoofers onto the bottom, so this way you can upgrade the overall sound package that you have without having to replace your tops. So there's a big positive. If you look for any more information on this, I'll certainly have links down below. That'll bring you to pricing on Amazon, bring you to our website for all the details that we've got on the product. And if you got any questions or comments, leave them down below. That's always a great way for me to know if we're heading in the right direction. We've talked about that before. And leave me a thumbs up. Thumbs up, let me know that I'm filling in all the blanks and getting all that information out there for you. So we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.